present together with my co-author Alberto Magni. I will briefly introduce the context and setup of our study, and then Alberto will show our main results and finding. So as you already said, our title suggests, our article is about a collaborative learning infrastructure to build capacity for urban transformations. So if we look around us, we often see a great variety of urban actors that join forces to bring positive change in the local environment. However, the increasing scale and the complexity in the challenges they face also forces these coalitions to constantly advance their repertoire to make any impact. And to support these kinds of local design experiments, we have developed a learning infrastructure that enables these coalitions to leverage the urban context as a learning ecosystem. And by looking more closely at what we call hyperlocal transformations, we aim to contribute to the United Nations call for new approaches to address the Sustainable Development Goals. So in our study, we had the luxury to be part of a larger European program that was investigating the transformative power of design for sustainable innovations. This program, called Designscapes, had the means to fund roughly 100 mission-driven innovation pilots that were selected along 3 different stages of innovation maturity, which means that the subjects of our study varied from projects carrying out feasibility studies to prototype solutions embedded in the urban context, towards projects that aim to scale impact to another context. In other words, the Designscapes context provided us an ecosystem of emerging coalitions experimenting with design methods and approaches to bring systemic change. However, this multi-layered setup also provided us a great space to engage with these pilots and to gain insight in how can we build capacity for urban transformations. So more specifically, we used co-design as an overall transformative community-driven design method to build an enabling infrastructure that also fostered a community of practice across Europe. This infrastructure facilitated the selected pilots to identify, connect, co-define, and co-reflect upon their learning journeys to further build capacity over time and to be able to address societal challenges. To make this infrastructuring process more tangible, we designed also a series of touchpoints to spark the engagement and collaborative reflection among these participating pilots. And the second set of co-design activities refers to the overall infrastructuring program, which, for example, includes dialogic workshops that help the innovators to better articulate and co-develop new knowledge, methods, and tools to advance their practices. I will now give the floor to my co-author Alberto to further illustrate the impact of our study.
Thank you, Ingrid. So when it comes to the outputs of our approach resulted first in 13 online dialogic workshops that were later condensed and solidified in 10 training modules on key topics for urban transformation. Out of these 13, 8 dialogic workshops were co-defined with the pilots participating in the program, and specifically new topics that were addressed in these trainings were generated in their interaction with pilot through the touchpoint activities that Ingrid just mentioned, and the reflective conversations that the pilots had during the dialogic workshops. Beyond the training modules, we also observed how our collaborative approach sparked a learning community among pilots. First of all, we can signal that a wide online community of 130 plus members used the Facebook community page dedicated to the program to highly interact and communicate throughout the program and even beyond. Furthermore, we observed how closer interactions and really opening up possibilities for conversations that would go beyond superficial introductions was really facilitated by the informal occasions that were sparked through the program, for example, in the online coffee break sessions or in the dialogic workshops themselves, that helped the participants, as they said, to be put as a sort of classmate and then really start in an easier way conversations with the other peers. Moreover, we also observed how the program facilitated innovators to really unveil new insights useful for the practice. Especially the more active pilots established new peer learning networks that could further support their ongoing self-development even beyond the program itself. Here we report an example of a participant who realized in one of the sessions the need to figure out how to better engage new communities of stakeholders. And joining the session, she dived into the topic, identified relevant actors, and moreover, she also got connected with other peers that later on helped her get in contact with these stakeholders, with whom now she's planning to set up new collaborations for her initiative. So this kind of demonstrated how it was possible for participants to really build learning networks throughout the program that could sustain them during the program itself and also beyond for the growth of their projects. Here we come to our conclusions. So summarizing, our study showed that taking a co-design approach can be really valuable in sustaining innovators' self-development journeys for their projects, as this facilitated connection and collaborative learning among them. Furthermore, we also observed that the same process that helped us codify new topics basically also helped us being elastic and adapting the learning infrastructure that we were developing as the program was going on and as the needs of participants were changing. To do so, however, we learned that the success of such an approach is key in terms of participation. So as I said before, the more active participants really showed to be learning and making the most of this program, while others did not eventually see immediately the value of these interactions. Therefore, it was a need from our side to facilitate one-on-one conversations and closer interaction with them that really helped us to further spark this co-creation effort. Last but not least, we saw the value of this co-creative approach that, as I said, made our program flexible and adaptable to innovators' need. But at the same time, this same process also showed us that and stressed, our capacity to basically keep up with the needs of participants and provide every time specific trainings to address their issues. So in other words, the more we unveil the needs of the participants, the more we had to figure out and reach out of our closer and initial network of experts that we had in a consortium to be able to address their needs. So this stresses an important aspect, which is the importance of further exploring how to collaborative infrastructure learning environments for urban transformations that are really capable of involving larger pool of actors. So in this, we see as relevant the enabling role of design and especially co-design in really supporting collaborative process that can develop learning infrastructure capable to expand continuously and really foster the creation and diffuser of knowledge for urban transformation.
Okay, you say that you work mostly with the expert, but which kind of additional actor you would like to integrate in your environment, and which kind of barrier also you see to integrate more people? For example, we had some experience with local community act, and we have seen that if you do not feel if you not have a sense of belonging to the specific environment, co-design will not be enough to train 80 people. So I mean, do you have any hint on this?
Yeah, so I can answer that. I think what we're talking about is really this meta level of facilitating. So yes, we are connecting several facilitators, let's call them like that, across Europe in our learning meetups. And we empower these participants to basically work in their physical local environment to address what you say. So they work there with local actors but they share the knowledge with people that are at different local instances. Does that make sense?
Yes, I wish just to know if you detect any possible barrier for the local facilitator to really involve citizens, for example, or other members of the communities.
Yes, there are many of these barriers. And this is exactly where the learning is about, to kind of discuss together how they could be better equipped to address such kind of barriers. So yeah, we are totally on the same page. So these kind of issues that they face and the challenges, and they share their experience in how to better do that, to be more earlier in the process, to open up for a diverser range of local stakeholders, actors.
Yeah, maybe to answer your question, maybe, well, an answer could be that was not the focus of this study, but rather one of the topics, as shown in the example of the participants who really tried to learn how to engage different communities. It was more of a topic of one of the training modules that were derivated through the co-design, this meta co-design process with them. So basically, it was one of the key topics and capabilities that they figured they had to develop.
Thank you. And Jannika, please, one really short question. You raised your hand.
Yes, I did. Because you had different European cities. Did you see any cultural differences in the co-creative creation process among them?
It's an interesting question, and I'm not sure I can fully have the information to answer, but I definitely remember, for example, that it was somehow easier. Well, we at least noticed that one of those learning networks that were set up was among participants and initiatives that were from the same country. So that could also have been basically based on the fact that on one hand, they could more easily link to stakeholders that they could reach basically more practically, and that could be closer to their own environment in terms of activity, because the case that I mentioned before that built up through the program and also outside, basically this initiative was connected to a researcher that was active in her area. So in a sense, she built a network with an initiative from another city, but then this reconnected them to someone who could be involved where she was operating. So in that sense, I'm actually not answering your question maybe, but what I'm trying to say is the closeness in that sense, not cultural but geographical, could have been a factor motivating people to start off more collaborations rather than collaborating with someone and in the other part of Europe, or yeah, because maybe there's a bit more difficult to do that.